Hi, and welcome to Journey Forward with Joree Rose, where you will gain insights, tools, and inspiration to get unstuck and live your best life. Joree is a licensed marriage and family therapist with a passion for helping people cultivate awareness and authenticity so they can show up fully in all aspects of their life. And now, here's Joree.
Hi, and welcome back to Journey Forward with Joree Rose. I'm so happy you've tuned in. This is the last episode of 2019, and I wanted to first off hope that you had all a wonderful holiday season and share some really exciting news with you that on Christmas Eve, my boyfriend John of 4 years proposed to me in front of our 3 daughters, my 2 daughters and his youngest, and it was one of the most magical holidays, and I can't begin to tell you how thrilling it is to be actually living my life in a way that I never could have imagined. And what I mean by that is all of the challenges I've gone through, all of the hardships, all of the twisted turns and curveballs and difficult moments have led me here. And I honestly can tell you, I couldn't have done it without my mindfulness practice, without the tools that I talk about all the time. Because I not only had the courage about 10 years ago to slow down and tune into myself and ask myself, who am I? How did I get here? And really have compassion for what wasn't working in my life, but more importantly, have the courage to actually do something about it. And the mindfulness tools that I talk about and the ones that I teach to my clients are the ones that I live by. And by slowing down, by meditating, by connecting with my breath, by getting out of my head and into my body, by being able to observe what's arising in me rather than letting those emotions or thoughts define me, by really getting unstuck. And I recently had a client say to me, Joree, you always talk about getting unstuck, but what does really getting unstuck actually mean? And it's a really great question and great concept to kind of pick apart a little bit, because I know what I mean when I say get unstuck, but it's quite possible maybe you don't know what I mean when I say get unstuck. So for me, the way I define getting unstuck is to truly have the awareness to say, where am I not moving forward in my life? Maybe I'm holding on to an old mindset of who I thought I had to be. Maybe I'm stuck in a toxic relationship in which I feel that there's no options. Maybe I'm at a job that is unfulfilling or with people who cause me too much stress or anxiety in my life, where I'm not making enough money. Maybe getting unstuck is simply not knowing who you are and what you need at this point in your life. So I know when I define being stuck, it's the recognition that something isn't working. Maybe it's internal, having to deal with your thoughts, your emotions, your mindsets, the old stories you believe about yourself, how you're defining yourself. Or maybe it's something more external, like a relationship, a circumstance, people in your life that are causing you pain or causing you stress. So I was able to completely get unstuck in my life. I was able to look at myself and have more compassion for what wasn't working, and I keep using the word courage because it really was a lot of courage to create the change I created in my life, but it also didn't happen overnight. It was one step, one breath at a time. And I can be here talking to all of you and have such pride that not only am I teaching these tools and really believing in these practices of mindfulness and meditation and being aware of your mindset, but it's actually created the change in my life that I've been seeking. It actually works when you begin to question, why are you doing what you're doing? When you start having greater awareness to wake up and live your life with more consciousness, with more presence, to start paying attention to your habits, your patterns, and see just how often you're on autopilot, just going through the motions of your day, of your week, of your life, not really connecting to either what your higher needs are, what your authenticity is, or maybe even just noticing how you've changed over the years and how to create new daily, whether it's conversations or habits that are in alignment with who you are in the here and the now. Because we often get stuck. And so this proposal, this engagement to the love of my life, not only is something that my heart and my body and my soul have just been craving to have this love and companionship for years, but I also see it as a direct reflection of my authenticity, of practicing what I preach. And I'm so excited because not only are John and I just beyond thrilled, and our daughters were squealing and crying with excitement and having, that excitement shared with them in that moment. But we also have so much work that we get to share together. And, we've got our couples retreat coming up in September in Costa Rica, and we're starting coaching program together for couples called The Ultimate Relationship. We just launched a new website. And so, it's really, truly amazing to be getting to live this life and where there's alignment in so many different areas. And I can guarantee I couldn't have gotten that alignment unless I had done my work. I have a lot of clients who, especially women I'm working with, who are really wanting to find love after divorce and are struggling maybe even in their marriage right now. And you got to do the work. You got to figure out who you are before you can be able to align with somebody else. So I hope that, you find that inspirational. I know it's super inspirational to me and it's my own life, but it's really powerful to be able to reflect back and say, wow. And this actually leads into what I wanted to talk about today, which is reflecting on the past year, but not just the past year, but the past decade. As we head into the new year, I always lead a workshop. And it's called Let Your Shit Go. And I led it over this past weekend. And it's one of my favorite workshops that I lead all year because it's creating a ritual and creating space to not only reflect on the past, but to create the ritual to let go of what you don't want to carry into the new year. Because I truly believe that when we carry our shit, not only is it getting really, really heavy to carry, but it also prevents us from allowing what we want to bring in to come into our lives. So without letting go of what's no longer serving us, I think it's harder to bring in the things that we want, the things that we need to be in alignment, to be authentic, to be present. And so I led this workshop over the weekend. And it's pretty powerful because not only are we reflecting on 2019, but it's a reflection truly on the past decade. As we enter into the year 2020, it's the dawning of a new era. It truly is. Astrologically, things are changing. Spiritually, things are changing. And it was just amazing for me personally. And I know it was for many people as well who attended this workshop. But to look back from 2010 to now, wow, what major change and growth. And there were so many moments in the midst of all of that hardship and challenge that there were times I truly believed I couldn't get through this. And I want to remind you that you have 100% success rate at getting through everything you thought you couldn't do. 100% success rate. So as you look back on this past year and this past decade, whatever your journey has looked like, I really hope that you are able to see your growth, able to see how you've overcome challenges, and let these be reminders that when you are faced with hardship in the future, or maybe even in the present, that you're able to get through it. And so let yourself know I've already gotten through some really hard shit, and I am so proud of where I've gotten to. And even if you're not out of the mud yet, that's okay, because you're breathing. And as long as you're breathing, there's more right with you than wrong with you, and you're already getting through it. So I invite you to create some space to look back over the past year and the past decade. And as you look back, think about the things that you've been carrying that have gotten really heavy. Maybe some of you would have heard me say the analogy, I think I talked about it in an early on episode, of if you were to hold a cup. You know, that cup isn't very heavy, but if you were to hold a cup of water or a water bottle for 5 minutes or for 10 minutes or for an hour, that cup would get really, really heavy. But we hold on to that cup and we don't realize that we have the option to put it down, because we so often hold on to it and we struggle and we complain and we say, oh, this is so heavy. This is so heavy. Why me? Why do I have to carry this? And putting the cup down doesn't change or ignore or deny the cup. It simply shifts our relationship to it. And that's what I mean by letting our shit go. The shit's still going to be there, whether it's the difficult people, whether it's the toxic boss, whether it's the challenging family members. You know, a lot of the stuff that we struggle with may not go away. But what can change is our relationship to it, and what can change is how we carry it, and how we let it define us, and how we let it control us or rule us. So, you know, when we talk about letting our shit go, it's not this magic wand that I can wave that can make all your problems disappear. In fact, someone recently was saying to me, you know, I want to let my shit go, and it's just, I just want to have it all be gone. And so I'm going to come to your workshop just so all my shit can just be gone. I'm just not going to deal with it. Well, that's really the unmindful way of moving forward. That's the process that we don't have consciousness around, that we just go that autopilot of ignoring and denying and resisting, which we know the more we ignore, deny, and resist what's wrong, the bigger it gets. It doesn't actually go away. So the way we let our shit go is by facing it. The way we let our shit go is by acknowledging what's there, acknowledging where our pain and our struggle is around it, and being able to shift our relationship to it and put the cup down and be able to say, I see you, and I'm not giving you the power to define me. I'm not going to let this take over. I'm going to be mindful around it. I'm going to stay in observation. I'm going to create space so I can have self-compassion for how hard this is to carry. And when we can practice to put down the cup, to let our shit go, we become free, because we've created the space, and in that space is our response to what's arising, not just an automatic reaction to it, because those reactions often aren't skillful. But I wanted to share some quotes with you that I found, and these are all young Pueblo quotes that I found in preparation for this workshop, and I think they're pretty beautiful, and I thought maybe I would share them with you. So there's 5 different ones. The first one, I am strongest when I am calm. The next one, I am not fully healed. I am not fully wise. I am still on my way. I am moving forward. That's the ultimate journey forward right there, huh? All right, the next one. Courage plus letting go plus self-love equals a growing freedom. The next one is, letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It just means we stop carrying the energy of the past into the present. Yes, that's what that means. We stop carrying it. We put down the cup. And the last one, nothing supports our inner peace more than letting go. So I invite you to really be curiously compassionate to what you're carrying, and to be curiously compassionate to how you can let it go, how you can enter into 2020 with greater clarity, with greater compassion, to not bring what's holding you back from living a more freer life, a more authentic life, from living a more present life, from being able to be fully who you need to be. And don't get me wrong, I know this isn't easy, and this doesn't happen overnight. And this isn't about having a New Year's resolution, because in fact, I'm not a fan of New Year's resolutions. I think, resolutions are kind of silly when we base it on a particular day. We can create change whenever we're ready to create change. And we don't need a day on the calendar to tell us, okay, now it's time to completely change your life. And statistically, we know that about 25% of people stick to their resolutions through January, and only about 8% see them to fruition at all. So be really gentle with yourself in how you approach letting your shit go and creating some new intentions for the new year. And it really comes back down to that. It's living in your intentions. And a resolution, that often to me feels like making some big change. And I really prefer intentions because that keeps us in the present moment. That is a small baby step. And as I've said so much in the past, even just a 1% shift can put us on a different trajectory. We don't need to create massive change to get to a different place. And change takes time to accumulate. When I look back on my past decade, and beginning of 2010 was when I first had this awareness and kind of awakening of, who am I? How did I get here? I don't remember making the conscious decisions to get to where I am. And the change that I needed to create, I can honestly say took about 10 years. Now, I made a lot of baby steps along the way. There were a lot of missteps and twists and turns. But the key was I kept coming back to that question of, who am I and where do I want to be? And when I saw that where I wasn't serving me anymore and was out of alignment with what I needed, I started to create that change baby step by baby step. And an intention of how I want to be can be a really great route marker or light post or lighthouse to guide you along the way, your North Star. So one of the things that I think is fun, and you often hear people do this, but pick a word for 2020. I even offer to people to write it down on a rock. I like that idea of having, again, some tangible ritual to write it down and have it be a grounding, kind of representation for you. And pick a word and let that word be your guiding light for the year. Let it be something you can set intentions around. I'll share with you, my word was clarity. And, this was meaning in a few different areas of my life. And a big part of it was clarity in what I wanted to create in my business plan for 2020, being really crystal clear on each next step rather than having excitement take over and want to do 10 things at once, which is how I tend to do because I get really creative and excited. So choose a word and, see how that can play out in the different areas of your life, in maybe your career, in your relationships, in your parenting, in your self-relationship with your self-concept, your self-compassion. And, one of the ways to also create ritual to let our shit go is something that I guided in my workshop over the weekend, which was to write down what you want to let go of and then burn it. Get a glass bowl and light a candle and say a little intention. Have a few moments of a meditation of breathing in all that's nourishing and healing to you, and exhaling out all that is spent, all that you no longer need to carry. And remember, anytime you're meditating or just connecting with your breath, pay extra attention to that exhale, because we often take a lot in, but we don't let a lot go. So that exhale is really important to release the toxins in our body, but that longer exhale is also going to activate the rest and digest part of our brain. That's going to help us calm our brain, calm our body, get us more present. So don't underestimate the power of your breath and letting shit go. But in this ritual of writing down what you want to let go of and then burning it is really, really, really powerful. I believe anytime we create some tangible ritual, it can help us in that release. And I even invite people to not just write down and burn what they want to let go of, but also write down an intention you want to create. And by burning it, you're releasing it to the universe. And you're also having non-attachment around it, because we also know the more attachment we have to an intention, or in the attachment we have to an outcome, the tighter we grasp and cling to that attachment, the more we suffer. So I like burning not just what we want to let go of, but also burning an intention of what we want to bring in. Because to me, that's just putting it out to the universe, releasing it, and then I can continue to meditate on it and be open in how I receive it and be open in how I step towards it. So I really encourage you to find a few moments. If you're listening to this right at the time that it came out, then it is the day before New Year's Eve. And if it's at any point afterwards, it's never too late to create practice and to create ritual and to set intentions. And most importantly, it's never, ever the wrong time to let go of what's no longer serving you. At any point in which you realize you're carrying and holding the cup and it's causing you pain and suffering, it's time to put down the cup. It's time to shift your relationship to what's causing you greater suffering, to what's causing struggles. But most importantly, it's time to put down what's preventing you from moving forward in your life. Because I believe that that forward movement, that journey forward, is our natural progression. It's the natural trajectory that we want to be going in. But we are the ones who often get stuck in our own way. And so I really, really am hopeful that creating some of this ritual, finding a short time for meditation to observe and to really have compassion for what comes up. Because I find that sometimes, especially when we're really stuck in our lives, it's easier to keep not paying attention to why we're stuck, because sometimes we're afraid of what we'll find when we sit with what is, that maybe we'll have to make some change that's scary or overwhelming. And it is. And sometimes we might question that. And oftentimes we're going to be in fear and question. And if you're listening to your body, if you're truly getting out of your head and out of those thoughts and tuning into your breath and into your body and into that intuition and natural wisdom that your body holds, you're never going to make the wrong choice. And it's maybe challenging, maybe for many years. And ultimately, it will get you to where you need to be. Because if you're following that intuition and trusting your gut, you'll never go wrong. It may be different than you ever thought and expected, and maybe at one point of what you once hoped for. But my recent engagement to the love of my life, I want to serve as inspiration that the journey is worthwhile. You can get to where you need to be. You can create the life that you want to be living. It's not about all the woo-woo, just law of attraction, just set out for it and, just think about the positive thoughts. You got to do the work too. I'm all about the woo-woo and the work. It's setting the intentions and then taking the action and then being patient and trusting the process. Because I believe happiness is your birthright. Authenticity and living fully to who you want to be is what you're here to do. And the way that you're going to get there is you got to clear out the shit that's holding you back. Whether it's energetic, whether it's something tangible, whether it's a thought or a mindset, it is really time to let your shit go. So you can enter into 2020, into this new year and this new decade, this dawning of a new era, with greater presence, greater clarity, greater self-compassion, so you can be living the authentic life that your soul is craving to live, and whatever that means to you. So I wish you a very, very, very happy new year. I wish for you a year of abundance and joy and laughter and growth and authenticity, a year in which you can slow down and connect with your breath, a year in which you can really begin to live the life that you're wanting to live, to have the courage and the compassion to make the changes that need to be made for you to get to where you want to be. So I'm really excited to continue this journey forward with you. I have some exciting new offers coming up in 2020, some new online programs and online coaching, and of course my retreats to both Marival in October and Costa Rica with John in September. So if you're really ready to journey forward and you need the tools and the guidance and the support to get there, I'm here for you. So stay tuned, and happy holidays, happy new year, and I look really forward to journeying forward with you. Be well.
To continue your journey forward, find Joree Rose on Facebook and Instagram to become part of her growing community. You can also gain access to her meditations, books, online classes, or to sign up for an upcoming retreat, visit her at joreerose.com. That's JOREEROSE.com.